Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Coach's Approach podcast, where we take an inside look at the coaching world. As always, I'm your host, George Gresco. I want to start off by saying thank you to all of our listeners and viewers. You guys have been absolutely awesome. Please continue to follow us on social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. And please check out thecoachesapproach.com. For any listeners and viewers out there looking for football training for their middle school or high school athletes, please check out Coach Max Stevens's Max Speed Training every Sunday at Eastlake Forest. For more info, please check out our website, thecoachesapproach.com. Today's episode, Dan the Man, is brought to you by Coach's Dry Rub, the All-American Rub. Lay it on thick until it sticks. Get your own bottle at tombaskitchen.com. Anthony's Family Restaurant in Eastlake on the corner of 91 and Vine Street, where together is our favorite place to be, open for dine-in, carry-out, and curbside pickup. And last but not least, G&G Printing. Get your custom apparel printed in 7 to 10 days or less. Dominate your design. Today in the coach's booth, we have the offensive coordinator at St. Paul High School in Chantilly, Virginia, Coach Dan Evans. Coach, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Coach. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited to talk some ball tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what's funny is, as you sent me your resume, you run triple option. And here in Cleveland Heights, where I coach the quarterbacks, we also run triple option. So it's kind of fun to see like your perspective of things.
Are you flex bone or are you split veer or what are you?
Yeah, we're veer. We're veer, and we run a ton of midline.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was pretty exciting. I come from the spread background, so the past 2 years I've really gotten to know the triple option, and I don't know if I'll ever go back to the spread.
Yeah, I would say this. I would say the exact same. From my perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I'm going to get into right here. So, Coach, today, days and ages, we just mentioned a lot more teams than not are running the spread offense. But you run the triple option offense. Why do you run the triple option offense, and what kind of advantages do you think the triple gives you?
Well, I really became a triple option believer. I was working at Catholic University. At my alma mater as the outside wide receivers coach, and we were running the air raid. And with that being said, I want to send my condolences out to the Leach family. Mike Leach, tremendous coach, tremendous impact that he's made through so many lives and through our sport. So prayers to the coach and his family. But we were running the air raid offense, and we were playing two schools in our conference. One was Springfield College, and one was Merchant Marine. And I was up in the booth watching them, and I think Merchant Marine that year had the 9th ranked offense in Division III. They were running it for 280 a game and throwing it for 190 a game. And I said to myself, I was like, man, I gotta get into this. This is unbelievable. And I was recruiting at my alma mater, St. Paul VI High School, and I was talking to their coach there, Coach G. He ran the split veer, and I'd seen a game, and we talked option offense. And long story short, he said, why don't you come back to your alma mater and coach? My daughter goes to school there now. And so that's how I got back. And, the triple option, I think what it's done for us as a school, and I think from my perspective, it gives you the advantage over everybody that you're equal to. And it gives you the advantage. It gives you an opportunity to beat some people that they're better than you, maybe talent-wise. And that's what we experienced this past year, going 9-3 and playing in our conference title game. And so, I think what the triple option does also, you don't see it that often, and it's a unique animal. If you got to face it and get ready for it in 3 days, 4 days, whatever it is, it's a lot to put on your plate with guys that, we're doing the mesh and all the different things, as all summer long. And it's like second nature to us. So right. It gives you a lot of advantages.
And it's super hard to simulate it. As you said, we had one of the best quarterbacks in the state in Darion Fair at Cleveland Heights this past year. And you just couldn't find him. He was so quick. The ball hit so much faster, and we made a good run in the playoffs this year as well. So it's just a complete. It just hits so fast. That's why I like it so much faster than out of the gun, where it's a long ride. It's just so much. Everything's coming straight downhill at you.
Right. And that's the big thing is that, it allows you to, like you said, hit the hole quickly
Yeah,
and then get on the edge. And if you get, you get people guessing on what they're doing
yeah.
and you figure it out amongst your staff, you can do some good things.
Right, and absolutely. And one thing that I'll mention, we had defensive ends sometimes running in circles because they didn't know who had the ball. They didn't know if we were running jet right at them, reading them. So it was really fun to see this past year. But coach, this is another triple option question. Do you think running the triple option, and this is a question coming from me because there was points this past season where we fell behind or we needed to score quickly. But do you think running the triple is a disadvantage if you need to do those two things?
I mean that's always the problematic thing with the triple option, right? That we talk about is, um, can you come back when you're down, right? And so, that time I watched Merchant Marine, they threw the ball a good bit. And so, I mean, this past year we threw for almost 1,500. We threw for about 1,500 yards ourselves. So, having a passing game, we were actually playing our arch rival, our rival in the conference, St. Mary's Riken, who was won our conference 2 or 3 years. We were actually down by 2 scores with less than 7 minutes to go in the game. And
Wow.
we actually were able to throw the ball and get back and tied it up and forced overtime and won the game in double overtime.
Right.
So I think that if you have a package of plays that you get good at and, some different wrinkles with formations, you can still come back on teams. You're not going to be as dynamic from all the different checks and maybe throw into the back as much as passing teams do. But if
Sure.
you can get a couple key things against some people that you can sort of go as a wheelhouse, you can come back on people and move the ball in chunks. And, we did that in multiple games where, if we needed to throw, we could.
Sure.
That from my perspective, I think if you don't put in a passing game and you're just going to rely completely on the veer or triple or what have you, it's going to be problematic. And I would say the biggest challenge that I would say that we have in general is, your third and longs and really catching
Yeah.
people, I would say, off guard with your passing game.
Right.
But coming back, you can if you've got some core things that you can do from a passing game standpoint.
Absolutely. And up here in Ohio, where I live in Menor, Ohio, but there's three really good similar triple option teams. There's Chardon. They won back-to-back state championships, and then they lost in the playoffs this year. Then there's Kirtland, where they're in the state title game the past 7 or 8 years straight. And then there was us, Cleveland Heights. So, but there's three really good teams that run the triple option up here that have been super successful over the past 10 years or so. So I was excited when I was reading your resume and there was triple option on there. I was like, this would be fun.
Yeah, people don't run it down our way. I think there's 2 other programs. Ironically, the other program that runs it, the guy I was sitting next to in the booth was our defensive coordinator at Catholic, and he left Catholic, and he's the head coach at Herndon High School, and they run the triple option. So him
Right.
and I were watching the same thing, and we became believers. And his school went last year was 0-10. This year they
Yeah.
were 6-4. Implementing the triple option. It took him
Yeah.
like a year or two, but it's tough. And he's a flex bone guy. I'm a split veer guy, but sort of cousins in that regard in
Right.
the offense. But sort of the proof is in the pudding. Like, and there's
Yeah.
very few teams that run it down our way.
And it's very funny how history kind of is starting to repeat itself. There was the teams that were under center, power I, running the football, play action off it. Then the spread kind of came in, and now everyone sees the spread every week now. But
Right.
now it's the teams that are running the football almost every play that it's hard to stop.
Well, what's crazy is I was thinking about ourselves. Out of the 10 teams we play in the regular season, I think 7 or 8 are spread.
Yeah.
So and the other two, they get a little bit of 2-back. One's a 2-back team, and you're seeing this in the NFL is the multi tight end, multi back. Taking advantage on the outside and the off tackle plays.
Right.
And even we implemented that stuff ourselves this year. we went into some 22 personnel with multiple tight ends, tight end wing, and running triple. And it gives people a lot of problems because the old personnel of having that big 220-pound outside backer that can come down in the alley and fit, you don't see that. Those kids are a little bit smaller now, especially at the high school level. So you have an advantage. I think that's where the split veer is a little bit different. We're a real off tackle team.
Sure.
We do the midline and the mid triple and trap and things of that nature. But it's a big advantage because like I said, a lot of people aren't facing it. And you're seeing it at the NFL. I mean, the 49ers won a game this weekend with a guy that was Mr. Irrelevant, and because they've got a good run game, and that's that's the name of the game right now.
And it's funny. I just actually listened to a college coach. I forget his name. He was talking about just the difference in kids now compared to 10, 15 years ago. He said kids aren't as tough, so when they are taking a fullback head on, it's a lot different than 15, 20 years ago. Kids would come down and deliver a blow in the hole. But now, no matter what, in a triple game, you're at least getting 2, 3, 4 yards because they're just falling forward rather than a collision in the hole.
So I think one of the big advantages it does running the triples, it makes your defense better. Because your defense has to go up against that heavy run game all August, all September, and our defense was tremendous. We had one of the best defenses in the area. And our defense was good at defending the run because they saw heavy run game.
Right.
We have kids that go both ways, but still, it makes you tougher when you're having to take those guys on in August and September. You're able to stop those teams, especially the good ones, when you need to.
Absolutely. And then, Coach, many high school teams across the country are using HUDL to upload game films, create highlight tapes, input all kinds of data, and many other things now with HUDL sideline and everything else. But you mentioned that you use HUDL to analyze your opponents. What type of things do you do to break them down or kind of get an edge on your opponents?
Yeah, I mean, one of the great things of working at Catholic University, I work for Coach Gatilius at Catholic. He's a great man. His offensive coordinator, Max Driscoll, really made that evolution in my step in analyzing film. One of the things we did at Catholic, we look at breaking down what they call open field, which is first and second down only outside of the red zone, and looking at that part of the film, looking at third downs outside, third and fourth downs. I do that with triple because we run the ball out on third and fourth down.
Right.
Looking at that, looking at red zone play, looking at negative plays, and looking at big plays. Where are people making big plays on them? Run game success. And for us, we're looking at personnel and sort of you're trying to get a peg on, with HUDL, putting all the data in, you're trying to get, is there trends? Is there things that common plays, common people that are being picked on as far as making big plays? Is there common places the ball's being run at? Even though we run a different style of offense,
right.
Are they running a certain area of the field? Are they not tackling on the edge? And you can sort of see, or if people having a lot of success, like the way I convert the film is, hey, they're having a lot of success running outside zone. Well, if that's the case, we're going to have a lot of success running rocket. Which is our toss. If are they an inside zone team? Well, we're going to have a lot of success running maybe inside veer or midline or things of that nature. So, I think one of the things that I started doing was really looking at using HUDL to really look at the game inside the game and being good in situations. I think one thing that I learned while coaching at Catholic University, the game comes down to third and fourth down, and it comes down to the red zone. And you got to be good in there, and you have to have, as a coach, you've got to have what is going to be successful, I think, my opinion, what's going to be successful in those typical situations to maximize your efficiency and put points on the board and win games,
Right.
And that's, third and short. I think this past year we were 30, I could get the number 32 of 34 on third and fourth down, 3 yards and less. Right. So it's like you're good in that situation. You're good. You're going to be tough. And I think our red zone efficiency, we scored 31 touchdowns and 35 attempts. So we were a high efficiency red zone team. So being good in those areas.
You take those numbers all day long.
Yeah, and HUDL helps that. And like I said, I got being on the staff at Catholic. While it was a different type of offense, the philosophy is very similar. I talked to the guy I work for all the time, and he said, if I wasn't running air raid, I'd run triple. Like that's the way, because you fall in those regards. So I think using HUDL to get the game within the game can help you really as a coach, sort of, make good decisions in those timely situations.
Oh, absolutely. And coach, you've mentioned that you coached at both the college and high school level. What would you say is the biggest difference in coaching at the high school level compared to the college level?
Well, I think what the crazy part is at the college level, you get the kids on the practice field very little compared to high school. It's funny because we have so many off-season workouts, 7-on-7s, green days, wherever your area is in high school. You see those kids a lot on the field, potentially camps, things of that nature. In college, you're limited to whatever the 16 to 20 spring practices you get. And when I was at Division III, it was at the time, there was no helmets. And then you only get the 20 practices leading up to your first game. So the big difference is you don't get that on the field time. You're coaching a lot off of film at college. And I think that's the big difference. The other big difference is you have more classroom time, but that's how you have to coach. You have limited field space. You have limited time. You're not going to be out there at the college level for 3-4 hours. Kids go to class. They have other obligations. We're in there. When I was coaching Catholic, we're there 2 hours and 15 minutes tops, and then we're coaching from the classroom, which I think is the big difference at high school. I think players, ironically, your players are very similar, like at least at like from what my perspective was. But the manner at which you can coach them, you have to really maximize your time at college because you got very few on-field repetitions that the NCAA really allows you to have. And so that you're as much as a classroom coach as you are as a field coach. And I think that's the big difference coaching from, college to high school.
Yeah, especially the NCAA has all these rules of non-contact. You only get 10 hours of any contact. It's crazy.
No two-a-days. I mean, I was trying to tell one of my players who's going to college right now. I said, ironically, I was trying to prepare them for, hey, you're going to go walk into a college. Don't expect to play right away. And it's not because you're not a good player. You got 16 practices to get ready, and there are no two-a-days. You've got to walk through a 2-hour practice, 2 hour 50 minutes, and then you're off. A college coach, they got to get ready for their first game. Getting you up to speed on the offense and the defense. The idea you're going to be a major contributor right away, it's really hard. It's really tough. That's why all those kids go in January at the Division I level.
Right. Now, Coach, you've also been a coordinator. You've been assistant head coach. I believe you're an assistant head coach now. You've also been a head football coach. What advice would you give to a young coach that has the aspirations of being a head football coach?
I think the big thing, if you want to be a head football coach, you have to invest the time in following what your current high school head coach does. I work for a great guy in Michael Grandizio. He was our conference coach of the year. I would say if you're a young coach that aspires, go to as many meetings. Ask that coach, can I come to your house on a Saturday to shadow you on what you do? Can I shadow the weight room sessions? Can you teach me? I think if I was a young assistant, the biggest thing is, you want to be on a good program. Like that's a component, but you want to find someone, whether that's the coordinator of that high school or the head coach of that high school, that wants to teach you and work with you and help you break down film and have you sit in on parents meetings and help you, do budgets and inventory and college recruiting and to see what it entails. And I think when you have someone good to shadow, you'll make your own mistakes, but you'll be able to sort of avoid some of those. And if you can find a coach that's willing to work with you and develop you, I think that's the biggest thing. Is I was a big X's and O's guy, and I think that's a component. But there's so much from parents to college to working college
fundraising, the whole
fundraising, weight room, speed and conditioning, parent involvement. There's a lot of different things, inventory. There's a whole lot of things that are there that, sometimes as an assistant, you can kind of take for granted. But I always say this.
I was gonna say, sometimes you don't even see that side of it. You're just, you come to practice an hour earlier, you leave right after practice. You don't see the little stuff that happens after.
Yeah, I'd also recommend a young assistant be the last to leave. Be walking with your coach on the way out, not to win brownie points, but to see what does this really entail?
Sure.
You know, waiting with kids for rides after school, like all these things, like they're all a component. You know, ask him about how he works with his family, because that's the big thing is how does he make it work at home too? Because all those things are important if you want to be a head coach.
No, absolutely. And coach, this past season, your team did some amazing things. Your team went 9-3 overall, as you already mentioned earlier. You went to the conference championship game. Unfortunately, you guys lost in that game, but it was a great game. But I saw some of the highlights that you shared with me. Can you talk a little bit about your this past season and some of the things you guys did?
Yeah, I'm really proud of our kids at St. Paul the Sixth High School. We got great kids, great parents. Kids work really hard in our off season. They work tremendously hard. This year was tough, our toughest schedule we ever had. Probably in the last, I don't know, probably the last 10 years.
Right.
You know, our kids were able to beat our conference champion, St. Mary's Riken. We hosted a playoff game for only the third time in school history. We won that home playoff game. The first time in 20 or 25 years. Got to play at Navy, which was awesome, an awesome experience.
Heck
You
yeah.
know, I mean, just a tremendous experience for our kids. We were up in the fourth quarter, just couldn't. The game sort of got away from us. As I've told a bunch of people, I'd trade the last 10 minutes of that fourth quarter, but I wouldn't trade the season because
No,
those kids. We had a tremendous year. Our kids achieved so much. The memories you make with the kids. You know, I'm going to miss, we had some great seniors. I'm going to miss those guys tremendously. But we had, you know, I think we had record number of first team all conference performers. You know, we have some kids going on to college. We have one athlete, Brendan Robinson's going on full scholarship to William and Mary. We have some other kids that are committing shortly to colleges. So just a real overall success. First time in our conference championship game since 1999. So, you know, for
that's
us,
awesome.
it was great accomplishment and how much we overcame and how much our kids competed throughout the season. Really proud of them. And then we have good staff and guys that I work with. It's probably the easiest staff I've ever worked with as far as, you know, everybody out for the kids and having the kids succeed.
Oh, that's awesome. And 9-3. I mean, not a lot of teams, play home playoff games, second round, third round. So that's just, the story in itself and making history. First time since '99 doing the things you guys are doing. But coach, here's a thing in our profession of coaching. There are a lot of coaches who are more about their ego rather than, service and helping our kids. So what would you say would make a great overall coach?
I think number one, you got to be emotionally invested in your kids.
Right.
You know, I still talk to some of my kids that I coached 7, 8 years ago. You know, a text on their birthday. How are they doing? I mean, I tell everyone I sit down with. I got into this profession to build young men. There's very few things left in our society to build young men, and you know, I think you have to be in it for the right reasons. What I think you got to ask yourself, why are you coaching? You know, if your goal is to impact young people and develop young people, I think then you're in the right spot. And I think that that doesn't mean it's always, hugs and kisses and sunshine and rainbows, because it's not going to be. But I think you gotta, if you want to be a good coach, I think you got to invest the time with your skill to develop your skill, but then also to develop relationships and develop relationships with your kids, with their parents. I think it's vital. And you're in the relationship business, you're in the building people business. And so, you have to know what you're doing. And I think that's a big component. And we as coaches, this is the time of year we get into that heavy, right?
Yeah.
But I think it's also, you want to be a good coach, you gotta be continue to build your relationships with your players and their parents.
Right. And speaking of relationships, many players have goals and dreams. Some athletes want to play in college. Some athletes have the dreams to go on and play in the NFL. What advice would you give an athlete who wants to play at the next level?
I think there's two things right off the bat. I think you got to be really good in the classroom. It creates a big funnel for you. Whether you're a middle schooler going to high school, there are our high school is very rigorous academically. It's very tough. And if you don't put yourself in a good position, when you're in middle school to develop your academics. I think and then also going from high school to college, obviously the better grades you have, the more places you have potentially can go and play. I think number two, you got to be a good person. I think that, at one point in my journey, I ran a combine business and we helped guys go from college to pro. And you'd be surprised at how many character issues or things that would happen that would derail someone's career. So I think that is the first two components. The third one is you got to embrace the work. You got to embrace the weight room, the training. You got to love it, because if you want to be a great player, you have to love that aspect. And the fourth thing is you got to be a student of the game. Are you studying the game? Are you getting better at the game? No one's arrived. I know I'm not. I don't know everything, but I'm trying to always be a student of the game. And I think that if you want to be a player that goes to the next level, obviously be great in the classroom, be a good person. Those are the number two things, but you've got to embrace the work, because if you don't embrace the work, if you're trying to get out of the work, if you're trying to avoid the work, I don't need to do the work because I've got this talent, it's just going to catch up with you eventually. And you're going to reach a plateau. You're not going to be the person or the player you really wanted to be. And then you got to learn the game. I think that's another component.
Right now, this wasn't a question. It's just kind of something you said. You said players would kind of derail themselves from playing at the next level. Do you think social media now is playing a big part of kids posting stupid things and getting recruited? I just saw one of the top-notch quarterbacks in the country, I think, tweeted or put out a video, and they took a scholarship away. You talk maybe.
Yeah, you've got to be careful. You got to be careful what you post. I think we also as adults have to remember kids are kids. There's a reason why. God, if some of this stuff was around when I was 16, 17 or 18 years old, right? And so I think what we have to do is, it can derail them. Yes, it really can. It can take away opportunities.
Yeah.
And we have to try to teach our kids to avoid that. But I think we got to teach our kids that, forgiveness is a great thing. Moving on and changing is a good thing. But you got to be careful what you put out there. I'm very careful about what I put out on text, individual, text or email, going that step further, social media, what you're liking, what you're following, everybody's watching those things. And I think you got to be really mindful of that. And then just making good decisions, whether that's at someone's house, on the road, those are when you're amongst a group of people, when you're out late at night, those are the things that I think I see, as much as the social media derailing people's career for, doing something stupid in a car, or as a group getting into trouble. Those kinds of things can derail your career tremendously. And I think equally on the social media, but I think, sort of old school, our kids have to be reminded, you got to make really good decisions in the car, with your friends, amongst groups of people, and especially late at night. We used to have an old saying, nothing good happens after 11 p.m. on the road. Get off the road, get home, be safe. I lost a teammate that way.
Especially because everyone has these phones out now.
Yep.
You got to be so careful with whatever you're doing, because you're a video away from being caught with something,
Right. Everybody's looking to put you on video that way.
Oh yeah. Now, Coach, we've hit the point in the show for our fun segment, Rapid Fire 7. This segment is brought to you by G&G Printing. Coach, I'm going to ask you 7 random rapid fire questions that I'm about to uncover here in a second, but just answer them as fast as possible. And
sure.
Like I said, you never know what these questions are. So I get some of them from fans, some of them from other coaches. So, Coach, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Who is going to win the college football national championship?
I think it's going to be Georgia, and not even be close.
Okay, I'm a Michigan fan, so
Blake Corum lives about 10 minutes from where I live. He lives in Lawrence, Virginia. So I wish he didn't get hurt, because pulling for him, local guy. So he should have been out at the Heisman. He deserved to be at that Heisman presentation.
Yep, I agree.
So he's a great player.
No, I was kind of hoping for a rematch of Michigan Ohio State, but I'm like, they beat us for over the decade, so let's at least have that year of those 2 years straight. All right, this is a random one. Grandfather clock or pocket watch?
Pocket watch.
Would you rather be trapped with 1,000 snakes or 1,000 spiders?
I'd say probably the snakes.
Bacon or sausage?
Bacon, 100%. Not even close.
Absolutely. UPS or FedEx?
I would say UPS. I'd say UPS.
I agree. Uh, a movie about yourself. Who stars as Dan Evans?
Oh, my wife, she always jokes around. She said, you get Ralph Macchio to star as you. That would be
Oh, I
that would be
love it.
probably
Oh, that's hilarious.
who my wife would say, Kelly, who's a great lady, who would star as me.
No, that's funny. And then last one, what would be your dream vacation?
Oh, Italian cruise. That's easy.
Oh, there you
Cruise
go.
through Italy. That's what my dream vacation would be.
How that'd be great. But that's always a fun segment that I like to do, and it's you just never know what you're gonna get.
Right.
But as we near the end of the show, Coach, I always ask this question to every coach that comes on to the show. Who is Coach Evans for the listeners and viewers who might not know you? Who is Coach Dan Evans?
Yeah, I one of my former football coaches, Rob Ambrose, who's just actually he was the coach at Towson for the last 14 years. He used to tell me, he's like, Dan, you have this look about your face. You're so serious. You look like you're going to kill somebody. I'm a focused guy, and I'm a driven guy. And sometimes that comes off the wrong way. But I think if you were to ask me who I'd want, like, people to know that I am, is someone that always loved his players, that wanted to see them achieve their goals and dreams. Somebody that always wanted to be the example for my children, to show them what hard work and perseverance and overcoming and achievement are all about. But that I'm a guy that I want people to know that loves to compete, that loves to win, and I think that's what keeps me going. And but number one, I want my players and the parents of my players know that I care about their kids, and I really want to see them achieve their goals and dreams, and that I would do anything for them now or in the future.
No, yeah, that was one of the best answers I've gotten. I like it, Coach. But Coach, I thank you so much for coming on the show. This has been a great one, and hopefully a lot of people listen in and get to hear your story and your background, and they'll be able to communicate with you through Twitter. And but yeah, thanks again for coming on.
Yeah, Coach, absolutely. If anybody wants to reach out to me, it's Coach Evans PVI is my Twitter. It's also Coach Evans PVI at gmail.com. That's EVANS. And coaches, you get great shows. Great talking ball with you. Love these opportunities to talk with fellow coaches and build that coaches camaraderie across the country. It's awesome.
Yeah, sure thing. And that's what I was getting into next is so far this season, we've had coaches on from Ohio, Texas, Virginia, and Germany. So I'm like, it's been a pretty cool experience getting to just reach out and build a bridge between all these coaches. And it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome that you're doing this platform. It's great.
All right, Coach. Thanks again for coming on. But please, if you're listening, please keep on sharing our content and check out thecoachesapproach.com. You can find everything you need to know about our podcast there. But that's going to do it for tonight's episode of the Coaches Approach podcast. As always, I'm your host, George Bresco, and we'll see you guys later.